So most of you all already know me, so I'm not going to tell you my work history because by this point you know it. But I have been here 16 years, and I have been researching aging the entire time I've been here. And I have been primarily interested in brain health, even though I don't talk about it a lot, because my grandmother and all 9 of her siblings had Alzheimer's. My mother has been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, but she will not listen to a word I say, and I don't understand why. Like, you need to exercise. Nope. You need to eat. Oh, no. And so, therefore, I am putting all of that energy into research for you guys, hoping that you will be able to take on some of the great things I'm learning and that we all stay as healthy as possible, primarily with brain health. So when I first started here, I knew I wanted to pay attention to brain health. And so I was just kind of mindset to look at that through that lens. And one of the first residents that I worked with, one-on-one, back when I had more time to do that, had the most severe Parkinson's I had ever seen. He was in a wheelchair. He had a hard time steering it. I think he ran over my feet 3 or 4 times trying to navigate. I couldn't understand him when he spoke. But then he would get on the bike, and about 5 minutes in, I could talk to him. I understood him. And that stayed in my brain. Exercise, and only exercise, that was the only change, made a difference that I could see, make a note of, and that could run in the back of my mind as I looked at research and thought about our program of cardiovascular exercise helped him. And I got where I would be excited to get to meet up with him because I would get to know him a little bit after a little bit of exercise. And so this talk is a little bit hard for me to do because there's so much in my head in the way that I've learned it or just been tracking it. And so I'm really hoping I can make it all come out in a very cohesive way that stays interesting. But if I bomb it, and we don't go from here, let me just say that of everything that you can do to get healthy, exercise is your number one choice. It impacts every part of your body. It is so important that when I first started working here, I'd come from working at Ozark Natural Foods where I thought supplements and foods were just so important. And now you hardly hear me talk about that part. Because the deeper I dive into the research, the more I know it's going to give you a really big payoff. So from here on out, I don't want you to try to learn anything. I want you just to let the information I give you just land. Use it to get you motivated to do something a little different. Work a little harder. If you're already working harder, maybe work less hard to find that missing part and to add it. Because you don't need to know this. You need to let this research get you excited about possibilities specifically for brain health. Everybody good with that? I've already deviated from my notes. Anyway, you can look up here and know that dementia is prevented by up to 30% with physical activity. Depression's affected. Breast cancer prevention, colon cancer, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, all cause mortality, all affected by exercise. And so if you're out at moving at all, then you're gonna know that this is having a payoff. So, I gotta find my clicker. Okay, we're gonna get deep into this, and I didn't think about how I was gonna do it. But first, I want you to start to run in place. In your chair, start to move your legs, move your arms. Okay, let's go faster. I want you to move your arms, move your legs faster. See how fast you can get your legs going. Add a smile, and let's go for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, stop. Can you feel a difference? Can you feel your circulation change? Can you feel your breath change? You have already made a difference. And as we'll get into earlier, you're going to change if you kept doing this for 10 to 20 more minutes, your hippocampal volume, and you're going to release a chemical called BDNF. And hopefully, by the end of this class, you're going to want those things. Okay, now, I want you to reach your arms down to the floor with your elbows straight. I want you to sit up nice and tall. And I want you to imagine I've just handed you 50 pounds. And I want you to lift that 50 pounds. You can use that mind-body connection and make those muscles work, right? And then back down. Lift that 50 pounds. Make those muscles work. And back down. Okay, 2 more. It's 50 pounds. You're hopefully feeling it. And back down. Last one. And back down. Can you feel the difference? Can you feel a little more circulation going? Okay, right now, this didn't make it to my slide and I just now noticed, you released a neurochemical called irisin, which you're going to learn about later. You improved your executive function, and once again, you prevented your hippocampal shrinkage from your hippocampus, and you improved insulin resistance. Okay, now, I want you to follow me. I don't know how I'm going to do this and hold on to the mic. I'm going to tell you about it. We're going to all do it, and I'm not going to have the mic. And you can choose to stand or sit. But what I want you to do is you're going to bring your right hand up to the side. You're going to look at your palm, and you're going to follow your palm as you turn all the way to the side. Then you're going to turn your hand, and you're going to press, like you're pressing air away. Keep watching your palm. And then you're going to bring that hand down. Then you're going to switch to your other hand. Now we're going to add the breath. Inhale as you bring your hand up. Look at your palm. Keep inhaling. See how long you can inhale. Notice the distance of the details of the palm of your hand. Turn your palm over and press. Okay, that's the move. So we're going to do that a few times together, just to make sure, because I'm not sure I did it right. As you're coming up like this, you're inhaling. As you're pressing away, you're exhaling. And then your arm comes down and we'll switch. Can I set this aside and we all do this for a couple minutes? Okay. And pause and see if you feel a little different. Because in doing that, you're working coordination, reducing stress, and enhancing reasoning skills, improving balance and proprioception. And each one has a different feel, right? Okay, so now I want you to go back to running in place. Pick a tempo you can keep so you don't have to go full out. Just a nice, regular one. Okay, everybody ready? My phone number, if you don't like this, is 313-4097. Say it with me. 313-4097. Okay, here we go. I want you to keep moving. I want you to now, what's 2 times 7? 5 times 4. 2 times 20. 4 times 4. Minus 5. Okay, what's my phone number? Okay. Can you feel you just worked differently? That your brain got fired in a whole different way? And if we had done a pre and post PET scan of that, your brain would have been lit up completely different. That when you have to think and concentrate about something while moving, you get the most. It's like everything times 10. Could you feel it? Do y'all want to do it again? Okay, just checking. It was hard on me too. Okay, so I want you, from the time you leave here, to think of exercise like a plate of food. If I'm going to eat healthy, when I fix my plate of food, I'm going to have protein, fat, carbohydrate. I'm going to have a well-balanced plate. I'm not going to just pick the carbohydrates because I like it. I'm not going to just not have the protein or the fat because it makes me nervous. I'm going to have it all. And that's the way I want you to look at exercise. Because just like you experienced, hopefully you experienced it, each thing we did had a whole different feel. It impacted you in a whole different way, and it impacted your brain in a whole different way, all leading towards having the healthiest brain you can have. And you don't have to do a lot of each one of these. And you don't have to do math while you're exercising. But think about it like this. When you're walking with your friend, carrying on an intense conversation, is there much different going on in your brain? You're focused on moving, you're focused on conversation, so your brain is lighting up. And so each time you do some different activity, it impacts your brain. And so from now on, I want you to think of exercise like loading a plate. A little bit of fat, a little bit of protein, a little bit of carbohydrate. And as I go through the benefits for each thing we're going to talk about, maybe think of, this is what I'm deficient in. Maybe I need to find a way to like it. And this is what I'm really good at. And maybe I just need to be happy that I'm already doing it. And if you're not moving at all, which looking out at y'all, I don't believe there's anybody here, then just moving a little bit. It doesn't take a lot to make a change, because after you did that first little run, could you feel that change? And that's all it takes. Okay, everybody with me so far? Okay, so this is going to be one thing you probably already know. Exercise fuels your brain. When you exercise, your heart rate increases, your blood pumps faster, more blood flows to the brain, especially in critical areas like your hippocampus. You get increased circulation, brain cells are nourished and work more efficiently, and improved blood flow strengthens the areas responsible for memory and verbal abilities. So anytime you get your heart pumping, you feed your brain. It's that simple. Regular exercise, better blood flow, a healthier, sharper brain. Because what they know is that the vessels through your brain, They weaken as you age unless you're working them. And so you want to keep that nutrition going through all of the time. I've got to make sure I've got my notes from here on out, or else I'll forget something. Okay. So what they found is that aerobic exercise improves cerebral blood flow. And this is really important because our brain consumes 20% of the oxygen we take in. Our neurons, essential for thinking, they are great at using oxygen, but they're not great at storing it, meaning we continually have to take it in. And research has learned that as we age, our brain becomes less efficient at using oxygen. And so aerobic exercise helps the brain stay efficient at using oxygen, increasing oxygen when efficiency subsides. Exercise also keeps all of your blood vessels healthy. So let's go back to that little bit of a run. So start to move your legs, move your arms. See if you can take up the tempo just a little bit. Add a smile. And right now, you are improving cerebral blood flow, improving oxygenation, and helping create healthy blood vessels. And it's as simple as that. Okay, stop. Also, this will keep you from falling asleep. Okay. I'm making sure I didn't forget. They found that it'll also help enhance executive function. And we'll be going through these studies. But they've done several randomized controlled studies with sedentary older men, sedentary people, all over the board. And every time, the research is the same. It improves cerebral blood flow, it improves vessels, and so it is one big step for a healthier brain. So now we'll go to strength training. There was a study done in Australia called Maintain Your Brain. It is the largest dementia prevention study ever designed. They had 8,500 people, ages 55 to 77. And they were looking at, can we slow cognitive decline by improving lifestyle habits before dementia develops? That'll be the program I'm starting. But we're going to talk about strength training. The researcher for the strength training part, Michael Valenzuela, had just launched the program. He had a test group, and they were going to do 1.5 hours a week of weight training, each for 6 months. They were going to do a cognitive test at the beginning, like the MOCA, if any of you have taken that, and 3 MRIs to measure the changes of the hippocampus over time. So they start the research, they've got their group, they've got a large group of people doing it, and 1 month in, Michael was seeing such a difference that he was like, I'm already seeing the benefits immediately, and this is a must for a healthy brain. So they continued with the study, and they found improvements to the hippocampus. And the hippocampus is important for memory, executive function, spatial navigation. And they found that it prevented the shrinkage that normally happens with the hippocampus. And we're going to go through these studies deeper and deeper. But everything that I'm going to tell you, after their group did 1.5 hours a week of strength training only for 6 months, and then they quit, that the benefits stayed with them for a year. That the benefits that they were seeing in their brain lasted a year. Also, they found something very important with strength training. They found that it helped with insulin resistance. When insulin sensitivity is at a healthy baseline, our inflammation comes down. Inflammation is a big contributor to cognitive decline. And what they found is that when you do strength training, your insulin gets better. Your hippocampus gets better. And the results don't just last while you're doing it, it lasts for a year. I consider that a pretty good return on investment. What about you? So I'd spoken about Del Bredesen earlier. He wrote the book, The End of Alzheimer's, and he's doing lots of research about lifestyle and cognitive decline and turning cognitive decline around. What he says, and a couple of other researchers, is that one of the biggest factors towards losing brain health and having dementia is insulin, type 3 diabetes. So if that's something you're struggling with, resistance training is what you really need to plug in. And I can spend all day telling you about the other benefits of resistance training. It's going to keep your joints healthy. It's going to keep your balance better. It's going to keep you moving better. You're going to have better posture. But when I think of the thing that I think is the most important, it's my brain. And you're going to have a healthier lifestyle because you're going to be able to handle insulin better. So everybody grab your weights and act like you've got 50 pounds and pull that weight. And can you feel that muscle firing? You can even just do it with your mind. You're creating resistance just by thinking of it. Anybody not feeling that? And 2 more. And if you kept doing it, did it 120 minutes a week, your insulin sensitivity would be gone. Executive function would be better. Hippocampus would be better. And in 6 months, if you quit, you'd have results for a year. So that's pretty good. Any questions so far? Yes. I've never looked into that, but it can't hurt you. He asked if you had a damaged pancreas, could it help? I know that it wouldn't hurt. Yeah. So now we're going to go to aerobic exercise reverses age-related brain shrinkage. So for years, researchers have said the brain, it's supposed to shrink. Scientists believe that brain shrinking was just part of aging, unavoidable, especially the hippocampus. The hippocampus is the part of the brain that's tied to memory, learning, navigation, independence. And after age 60, the hippocampus, they say, or they've seen, starts to shrink about 1 to 2% every year. As it shrinks, memory decline, dementia risk rises, and learning becomes harder. But what they're finding is that movement changes that. That movement prevents that. So they found that aerobic exercise reverses age-related brain shrinking, expanding the hippocampus by 2%. So not only is it keeping it from shrinking, it can create growth. In adulthood, the hippocampus naturally shrinks by roughly 1 to 2% annually, driving memory loss and increasing dementia risk. But a landmark study, which is in the National Academy of Science, proved that 1 year of moderate aerobic exercise completely negates the loss, effectively rolling back the structural clock of the brain 1 to 2 years. And I find that that's pretty incredible. How about you? So in the studies, they start to say that moderate exercise is really important. And so we'll go into that more and more. But while it's on my mind, moderate exercise is the exercise when you're walking and you feel slightly winded. So you've got to be exerting. You can't just be on just a little stroll, although a little stroll will have benefits. But to get that change, you've got to be really kind of in that moderate zone, which is what, if you want to work on, we will be working with you individually so that you know, oh, I'm in that moderate zone. I'm in that rate where I can start to see those changes. And so we'll be doing that. Also, Nordic poles, which also help with muscle strength and stuff. They found that those make you work harder and you'll be a little bit more in that moderate zone. So that's a little bit. But then I want to go back to a researcher, and I meant to bring him up earlier. His name was John Ratty, and he wrote the book Spark. Has anybody read that book? It's a little older now, but the research is still very good. He believed, Dr. Ratty did, that exercise helped with learning. And this was learning in the moment. He started to see, can we track that? So he went into Naperville and the Chicago school system and asked if he could have the students do aerobic exercise every morning and see if that would change their yearly test. And so he put together an exercise program of making them work cardiovascular very strenuously and tracking who was there and who wasn't. And their test results went up incredibly. It was a landmark. And all they did was make their students start to exercise before school and make them exercise aerobically. Not only that, but having kids get in trouble, that went down, and overall mood came up. And so I read that book. I looked at my son, which many of you have met, and I put a little mini trampoline in the house, and I would make him jump for 10 minutes in the morning to get his brain to go. That's how convincing that research is, and that's probably why he likes to escape the house and come here. But I think it did help. I think it did help because he did good. I've seen those things, but I didn't have a comparison, but I just wanted to share that story. Okay. So I just want to be really specific. Your hippocampus looks like a seahorse shaped in your brain's processing center, and it plays a huge role in learning and memory and spatial navigation. And the hippocampus, as I said, will shrink up to 1 to 2% a year unless you're exercising, and then it's going to grow. And so this is just a study I found. I found so many good ones. These are the ones that I picked. Researchers followed 120 older adults aged 55 to 80 for 1 year and compared walking aerobics versus stretching. Everybody who participated were sedentary before the study. They had no dementia or major neurological disease. They were asked to walk 3 days a week, and they worked their way up to 40 minutes per session. At first, they started slower at 50 to 60% heart rate, and then they moved up to 60 to 75% maximal heart rate. And then they did the studies to see, okay, what changed? They did MRI, and they did the MOCA. And the aerobic exercise group increased their hippocampal volume again by 2%, and the stretching group lost about 1.4% of the hippocampal volume over that same year. The exercise essentially reversed 1 to 2 years of age-related brain shrinkage, and they were able to improve their memory on their memory performance tests. So I just wanted to bring it up one more time, and that was from walking. Yeah. They did the study with 40 minutes, but then some of the other studies that I have read, if you're getting 10 minutes, that can, and then, but multiple times through the day. But one thing to be wary of, if you are going for a 10-minute walk, sometimes you don't get the pace up to that moderate. Sometimes it takes it a while. So if you're going to say, I'm going to walk for 10 minutes, kind of tell yourself, I'm going to walk for 10 minutes and I'm going to start out fast. I'm going to get into that moderate zone a little faster so that I'm getting that effect to my brain. Okay, if you've taken water aerobics with me, you've heard of BDNF. Has anybody else heard of it? I like to call it Miracle Grow for your brain, but I got that, I think, from John Ratty, the researcher. So the old belief, you lose brain cells when you age, and that's just life. So they're telling you, you lose brain cells, your brain shrinks. But then researchers studying exercise noticed something shocking in animal studies. Active animals didn't just move better, their brains actually looked different. So when the scientists examined the brains of the exercising mice, they found dramatically higher levels of a substance called BDNF. And this is where it gets interesting. BDNF acts like a fertilizer for the brain. It helps your neurons survive, grow, and connect. And it also helps them communicate more efficiently. And that bit of research changed neuroscience, the discovery of BDNF and all that it did. So they found that BDNF does a lot. They were looking at how it improves executive function following 1 year of exercise. So this time they took 90 sedentary older adults around the age of 67, and one group participated in moderate intensity, and the other, which was walking, and the other, a stretching toning for a year. In both of these, I would have not wanted to be in the stretching toning. But these researchers weren't just interested in physical fitness. They wanted to know, could this improve the CEO function of your brain? The brain's management system, the part that helps switch attention and make decisions, stay organized, and multitask and think clearly under pressure. And at the end of the year, the walking group showed improvements in executive function, especially in the ability to switch tasks accurately. And since then, they've been finding that BNF does so many things. It builds and strengthens neural pathways, improves learning and memory, supports mood and emotional resilience. So they're starting to see more of that mind-body link with exercise. They found a lot about it helping to protect against Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Higher levels are linked to lower risk of cognitive decline, they think because of the neuronal support. And it also helps metabolic and heart health. It's another part that they see where it's helping with insulin and the cells of the pancreas, not sure about your question, and promotes cardiovascular health, all through a new neurochemical called BDNF. So from right here, I'm making sure I have my order right real quick. I want you to come into a little bit of a run again. Okay, now I want you to go as hard and fast as you can. I want you to go faster. Go even faster. Let's go for 10, 9, give it your all. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, rest. It's harder in a chair. Okay, let's go for round 2. Here we go. Start out in that march. Smile. This is supposed to be fun. Now start to run in place. Run faster. Run harder. Let's go faster. Go faster. Go faster. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, rest. Can you feel a difference? Parts of it's immediate. You're getting that cerebral blood flow. But they found that when you go hard and fast and then slow it down and then hard and fast, you release even more BDNF. So that's why in water aerobics, you hear me say, okay, let's go fast. Let's go faster. And we also do it in Get Fit with Jennifer. But even right now, you hit some of those measures. Could you feel the difference? So BDNF elevation responds to moderate and vigorous intensity. That's why I had you do that. I'm going to grab my notes. So after exercise, what they found is how fast, researchers then said, how fast does it take to raise that BDNF? How quickly do the results happen? So they started looking at people doing vigorous cycling, and they would measure the BDNF. And they found that the minute you got into those higher levels, your body released BDNF, a major growth and repair molecule. So another way you can think of BDNF is it's a major repair and growth molecule, helping neurons to grow and your brain repair. BDNF, after doing intense cardiovascular exercise, increased about 30%. So your BDNF would go up 30% after doing intense cardiovascular exercise. So right now, just from feeling that intensity, if we did about 2 more rounds, you'd probably have a 30% increase in your BDNF. And it's 45% higher than sedentary. So your brain responds to movement almost as if it's received a growth signal. And scientists now believe BDNF helps strengthen neural pathways, improves learning, supports memory, and protects and grows new neurons. You can almost think of exercise like turning on the brain's fertilizer system. When your heart rises, your brain is benefiting. Any questions? And that's when you're feeling winded. Another way you can think of releasing BDNF is you can carry on a conversation almost, but you're winded. And you're not really enjoying the conversation. So it depends on which one. If you're going to go and do the high intensity, you can come up into that high intensity and then slow it back down and then come up into it. So about 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. And you really want to hit that. Or staying at a moderate intensity for about 30 minutes. It's kind of hard. So you also want to look at, in staying at the high intensity, when you're looking at this, which I should have probably brought it up earlier, you've got to look out and say, it's not about doing it one time. It's not about doing it 2 times. It's about being able to do it over and over and over again. So that 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off is a lot more doable than staying at that high level for a long period of time, and you're still going to get that release of BDNF. I've also found that doing that work in the pool is surrounding you with resistance. You do not have gravity, and so the pool makes it much easier and doable because you're not having to fight gravity. That's why I'm always trying to get us to work so hard cardiovascularly in the pool. Get Fit with Jennifer is designed to release the BDNF by doing the 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. Then Nordic walking puts you at that moderate, so you can do that one longer. Does that kind of answer? Hold on. It is. Is it still going? I'm pushing it. Oh, so this isn't about becoming an athlete. It's about giving the brain the signals it was designed to respond to. We're designed to move. And when you're doing that which we're designed, your brain responds. So you want to think of it as move, challenge, and adapt. Okay, so this is a new chemical they found called irisin. Has anybody heard of it? It's really interesting right now. It is released anytime you use a skeletal muscle. And it has really interesting, and one way you can remember is it's named after Iris, the messenger goddess. Iris was the messenger of the gods linking heaven and earth. Like Iris, irisin is a messenger that connects muscle activity to whole body health. I think this makes the mind-body connection. It's where they are able to say, oh, this is what creates all of the health benefits. You move your muscle and irisin is released. But one big important thing about irisin, it crosses the blood-brain barrier. And it helps with brain health. They found that it's neuroprotective. It helps support brain health, memory, and helps protect against neurodegenerative disease, which is really important. They think that it's one of the reasons that exercise helps with Parkinson's so much, and I'm about to go into that study. It also improves metabolic health. Remember, insulin sensitivity is linked to dementia, and so it helps with that. Enhances bone density. They think that irisin is one of the mechanisms that starts to build bone. Promotes weight loss, and overall supports cardiovascular health, mood, and longevity. But the big part for our talk is that I want you to think of it as a brain messenger, because it does cross the blood-brain barrier. So a researcher, he was a little dry to listen to, but his research was the most fascinating. His name was Dr. Dawson, and he was one of the ones that is trying to come up with the drug of irisin, because he's so impressed with how much it does for us. But the thing is that you can produce irisin all on your own by exercising. And when you do, it crosses the blood-brain barrier. So what he found is that it helps prevent the degradation of dopamine producing neurons, one of the big things with Parkinson's. And he was seeing this so strong that irisin was helping with Parkinson's and dopamine. And so he decided to simulate it. And so he got a mouse, and he decided to create the Morris Watermill water maze as a test. So what he did was he took mice, he injected them with a inoculant that would create the symptoms of Parkinson's. He would wait about a week, and they would start to exhibit all of the symptoms of Parkinson's. And then he had, it's called a water maze. It's this big tub of water for a mouse. They would think it was big. And it would have in one area a little platform that they could crawl on and save themselves. And so he would take the mice and he'd put them in the water when they were healthy and see how long it would take them to get to the platform. And then he gave them all the inoculant that gave them the symptoms of Parkinson's. And then when they were exhibiting the symptoms, he would put them in the water maze, and they would have a very hard time getting themselves to safety. He then took those same mice and injected them with irisin. He put them back into the water, and they were able to get themselves back out safely. He was able to see the changes that irisin was making in these mice that had the symptoms of Parkinson's. The research was so strong for him that he was like, we've got to be able to create this in the lab. I thought, we've got to create this in the gym. And we know how to do it. The research is there. And intense cardio in that moderate zone releases the most amount of irisin. But interestingly enough, they found that when people are very, very sedentary, they actually have lower amounts of irisin. And that the more active you are, the more irisin you actually have. And that you create more irisin with the more exercise and even more with more intensity. And so when they start to look at BDNF, irisin, and all of the stuff, they're starting to find the chemical makeup that makes exercise protect the brain and even able to fix the brain. So the guy right there, his name is Brian Reedy, and he was diagnosed with Parkinson's in 2011. At first, he was told exercise was good, but no one explained how life-changing it could be. As his Parkinson's progressed, simple things became difficult. He lost his arm swing on one side, needed a cane, struggled to get out of bed, and his wife was often having to help him move. He described it as a very dark time, and then he found a physical therapist who challenged him very intensely. During his first session, he could barely do a sit-to-stand. A sit-to-stand is just this. 4 months later, he could do 100 in one session, which that would get your muscles going and your heart rate up. And he began doing hard, purposeful exercise every day, biking, pool therapy, strength work, outdoor movement. And he said nothing has changed him like exercise. Exercise helped restore what his brain is losing from Parkinson's. And today, despite living with Parkinson's, he believes exercise gave him part of his life back. And that's what I saw with the resident when I first started working. I could talk to him, I could understand him. And the research is just now starting to figure it out. And so they found for exercise can improve movement, protect brain cells, and enhance quality of life. They found through irisin and other parts that it protects the dopamine neurons, improves dopamine signaling, and may protect dopamine-producing cells from stress degeneration. PGC1A and irisin, which they work very similar, the pathway may reduce toxic alpha-synuclein buildup and protect new dopamine neurons. They found that it helps with mitochondrial health. The healthier mitochondria, the more energy production you have and reduces oxidative stress, helps with neuroplasticity, and they found that it improves balance and executive function. And so that's from that release of neurochemicals. Everybody still with me? Still finding it interesting? Okay. Oh no. Well, I guess that's it. Oh no. You saw, these are all the slides I decided not to use. Sorry. Okay. It's sensitive, so I try to go light. So another system you may have heard me talk about during our sleep talk, the glymphatic system. When you go to sleep, researchers used to ask, well, okay, we know that the body gets rid of waste material through the lymph, but the brain doesn't have that. How does the brain get rid of waste material? And then they found that when you go to sleep, your blood vessels shrink and your glymphatic system opens up, and that's how you get rid of waste. Meaning sleep is so important for cleaning out tau and amyloid plaque And so there for the longest time, I was like, you have to get sleep to clean out your brain. You have to get that deep sleep to get that lymphatic system going. But some very new research is finding that when you work hard aerobically, you also activate just a little bit of that lymphatic system while you're exercising, meaning you're allowing your brain to clean even more and more during the day, and profound if you're not sleeping through the night, which so many people struggle with. But then there's a two-edged sword when you're exercising, but you're not doing it too late. Exercise can also help you sleep. So the fact that exercise helps you sleep better, but if you're not sleeping, also helps with the cleaning of your brain. So that's another big benefit. And that's another way that they're finding that exercise helps with prevention and may even help with repair. The pressure of doing the clicker again. Okay, so we've been going through strength training, we've gone through aerobics, but also mind-body exercises have a big important role. They're also finding that doing Tai Chi, or like the activity we did right here, improves executive function, helps with hippocampal health, but it doesn't help in the same dramatic way that we were talking about. But they have found that it does help with attention and balance. And one part of balance is dual task. In Tai Chi, you're focused on more than just one thing. You're focused on your breath. You're focused on what your arms are doing, what your legs are doing. And it also calms the nervous system. They're finding that when your stress goes down, that inflammation goes down because it lowers cortisol. And that the relaxation pathways stimulate the nerve for rest and digest, which they're just now starting to find all the ways that that heals your body. And it can also quiet the fear center and builds a greater resilience. So that's where all of the different types of exercise start to play a different role. And then dual task. And it doesn't have to be doing math while you exercise, but they found that dual task, physical movement while doing a mental challenge. Because what they found is that most people fall not just by walking and doing something in isolation, but they're doing a couple things at once. So for fall prevention, you want to be really good at doing a few things at once. And that it builds a more adaptable brain. You start to see strengthening of the neural connections, improves multitasking, and increases neuroplasticity. Improves, trains attention while moving, which is different. It improves reaction time and supports a safer, more confident movement. And so doing that multitask lights up the brain even more. I used to do a class a long time ago called, I know Ginger remembers it because I remember her, cardio cognition, I think was the name. And we would do different mental challenges while exercising, and that all hits. But even just going for a walk and talking with someone, learning to dance, all of those things, learning new choreography, or keeping your exercise program varied. Yes, anytime. So like when we started what are the mental challenges? So like at the beginning when I had you marching and I was calling out math questions, yeah, yeah. Anything that causes your mind to have to work. So it could be through dance. It could be through any type of activity where you're having to think and react to what's going on along with the exercise. Yes. So let's say you're dancing. You're learning dancing. I'm not going to demo that, but but think about all that you have to think of to learn new motion, a new movement. Or if somebody's asking you hard questions while you're on a walk, you're having to work in a different way. Yeah, yeah. Or learning how to use the Nordic walking sticks, learning a new activity. And so, one thing I thought I'd highlight, Susan Sarandon, the actress, was like, everybody needs to be playing ping pong or table tennis because that's where physical meets mental strategy. It could be pickleball too, tennis, any number of things. But since we have ping pong here, I thought I'd bring that one up. Table tennis combines high-speed physical activity with intense mental engagement, making it a powerful workout for both the body and brain. And that's where, when they're looking, you see a lot happening for brain improvement. They're finding that you can improve cognitive function, stimulate multiple brain areas at once, prevent cognitive decline, get a mental health boost, improve memory and focus, and boost neuroplasticity. I bring it up because exercise can come in so many different forms. Each one benefits the brain different, but you're not constrained to finding something you don't like. So if you like playing table tennis, you're getting a huge benefit. If you like pickleball, but then you also want to make sure you're getting a variety of exercise to hit that full course meal of strength training, aerobic exercise, all of those things. So I wanted to bring up Tammy Corrigan. So Tammy was age 44 when she had early symptoms of Parkinson's, then diagnosed at age 50. And then she joined the Sparks 3 clinical trial in 2022. And the Sparks trial was doctors knew exercise helped people with Parkinson's, better balance, better walking, and improved mood and better fitness. But researchers wanted to know something deeper. Could high-intensity exercise actually protect the brain itself? And that's what Sparks 3 was designed. And so they recruited people who had been diagnosed within 3 years with early Parkinson's disease, people not yet on medication when they entered the study, because researchers wanted to see if exercise could act as an early line of therapy before symptoms ever became severe. So they took 370 people, enrolled across North America, and they were assigned to the treadmill at two different intensities, 4 days a week for 30 minutes at 60 to 65% heart rate, max heart rate, or the high intensity, 30 minutes at 80 to 85% max heart rate. The high intensity zone is important because it pushes the brain harder biologically. It improves dopamine signaling, more BDNF, more neuroplasticity, better mitochondrial function, and stronger cardiovascular adaptation. And they look directly at motor symptoms such as walking ability, cognition, and daily steps of quality of life, or daily steps, quality of life, and the dopamine transporter activity in the brain. And they found that inflammation markers reduced as BDNF went up. And researchers are beginning to believe exercise may change the course of Parkinson's disease itself after doing this study. And so Tammy didn't just help her body, it helped her mind. She was in the study. It gave her and she was in the 18 months of treadmill exercise 3 to 4 times a week with regular testing. And she says it didn't just help her body, it helped her mind. It gave her the tools, structure, and confidence to take control of her health and potentially slow disease progression. Now today, she does 15 to 20 minutes of stretching, walks and hikes, lifts weights and uses the elliptical, does boxing workouts for Parkinson's, and stays busy with work, family, and an 8-year-old son. And she really is one of the ones out there claiming how big a difference that exercise made. I've got one more slide. They've also found that exercise has a huge role in dementia Alzheimer's. They're seeing that it reduces beta amyloid plaque and tau, increases BDNF and neuroplasticity, improves cerebral blood flow, reduces inflammation and oxidative stress, supports sleep and recovery, and supports the lymphatic system for cleaning the brain. So when you look at all of this, exercise does so much for our overall health, but it does so much for your brain. The way you want to think of exercise is not what it'll do for your physique or anything else, but what it'll do for your brain and how it'll protect you for the next 10 to 15 years. And that's my talk on exercise and the brain. Thank you for staying with me. I know it was a bit long. Yeah. Yes. Yes.